Yep. All right, folks, if we could, we'll come back to order for our afternoon session for our May 24th meeting. And before we get started with our next two docketed items, Judge Vogel is here and would like to make a few comments, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, Commission members. Glad to see you here today, and another day, and more decisions to be made. My meeting attendance here is going to be brief right now. Just came to thank Laura for the service that she has provided Oldham County, being a member of this planning commission. I think I'm in my 12th year, and I believe you've been here 15, right? You were here when I arrived here, and well, you're going to leave now, and I know you're going on to West Virginia with your son, and so on behalf of the community, I want to thank you for the time, effort, and service you put in as a member of the Planning Commission. You've been a very good member, diligent. I think you're always here. You're very attentive, and you're very interested in every case, and so on behalf of the community, thank you, and we wish you the best in the future in West Virginia for you and your son. So, okay, thank you.
Yeah, Judge, I would concur. That's I'm certainly going to miss her. She's been great for the community. So, but yeah, exactly. Maybe she'll consider coming back sometime. So, anyway, thank you, Judge. All right, with that, we'll move into I'll ask Mr. McIntyre to read our next two docketed items, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Docket PZ 22018. An application has been filed by Flats at 20 for the approval of a zoning map amendment on approximately 3.84 acres. Property is located at the 1700 block of Commerce Parkway in LaGrange. The proposed change is from R2A residential district to R4 residential district. And docket PZ 22019. Application has been filed by Flats at 20 for the approval of a development plan to 116 apartments on approximately 15.3 acres to be known as the Flats at 20. Property is located at the 1700 block of Commerce Parkway. The proposed zoning is R4 residential district.
All right, Ms. Alvey, I assume you're introducing the docket?
Yes, sir. Again, Amy Alvey with Oldham County Planning and Development Services. As Mr. McIntyre stated, this is an application for a rezoning of 3.84 acres of a 15.3 acre tract from R2A to R4 residential for a 216 apartment building complex. Again, the property is 15.3 acres and only a portion of it is being requested to be rezoned. This is an aerial view of the property outlined in red. You'll see Allen Lane to your west and then Commerce Parkway to your south. This is just a zoomed in version of the aerial of the property. This is the current zoning. You'll see that there is R2, which this is the school board property here to the west and to the east. And this is the area that is being requesting to be rezoned. And then there is C1 here to the immediate southwest. This is, again, just a zoomed in version of the property as well for the zoning. This is the future land use map. Just shows, again, this is the school board property, which shows as institutional. And then this shows single family city. And then this anticipated use was single family, commercial, and then commercial and industrial across the street, which is where the Oldham County Health Department is located. Case history, this just shows the neighborhood meeting and technical review when adjoining property owners were noticed, as well as posting of the sign on the property. Site history, on August 22nd, 2006, the Oldham County Planning Commission and City of LaGrange granted approval of a zoning map amendment and preliminary subdivision plan for Artisan Fields. This plan consisted of 52 single-family homes and 35 condominiums, as well as a commercial component along Commerce Parkway. Variances were also granted for reduced front yard and side yard setbacks for the single-family portion of the development, and a zoning change was from R2 residential to R2A residential, R4 residential, and C1 commercial. This is the outline that shows what the proposed or what the zoning was changed to for Artisan Fields. This was the 2006 approved plan. So again, in the center here, this was the school board property prior to that. And then this was the single family, and then this was the condos here, and then a commercial portion here along Commerce Parkway. On July 27th, 2010, the Oldham County Planning Commission approved an application by Citizens Union Bank for a revised preliminary subdivision plan for which was a development plan consisting of 71 lots on approximately 28 acres, to be known as Artisan Fields again. The applicant was also again granted variances from front yard and side yard setbacks. So then they came in 2010 when it was repurchased by the bank or bought back by the bank. And then this was the single family layout that was done. So again, this was the commercial portion that was not reflected in this revised plan. And then again, here is the Board of Education property. So the applicant is requesting a zoning change again from R2A portion of the property to R4 on 3.84 acres for 216 apartment units. There are 10 apartment buildings proposed with 3 different layouts consisting of 182 bedroom units and 36 3-bedroom units. 8 of the buildings will be 3 stories, which is approximately 42 feet according to the plan, and 2 buildings will be 1 story, which is 19 feet. The plan also shows a clubhouse, swimming pool, basketball court, pickleball court, playground area, walking trail, and 2 dog park areas. The applicant is also constructing a ride share / restroom building along Commerce Parkway Trail. So this is the overview of the proposed plan. And then here highlighted in the blue are the 4 24-unit buildings. And then in purple, my colors are a little off. Purple here is 3 24-unit buildings. And then there are 2 6-unit buildings, which are the 1-story buildings. So this building here is a 1-story, and this building here is a 1-story. And then there is 1 36-unit building. So that is this larger building here. And then they have the garages along the property lines here to act as a buffer to the neighbors. This is what I'll call the amendment accessory uses to the property. This is the ride share public facility building that they are proposing along Commerce Parkway. They have a clubhouse, a pool, playground, a dog park here, picnic area, and then this is the basketball and pickleball court. They also have a walking trail. You'll be able to follow that throughout the property that surrounds it. The development is required to have 1.24 acres of open space, and they are providing 2.9 acres of open space. There is a 15-foot perimeter landscape buffer requirement when abutting residential, ag, or conservation used properties, and that requires a 3-foot high continuous screen. Any vehicle use area adjacent to the residential use will also require a 7-foot high continuous screen. The applicant will be required to submit a complete landscape and lighting plan for staff review and approval. So this, again, they show on their plan, you'll see in green here, that is the required 15-foot landscape buffer. A traffic study was performed, which also included a turn lane warrant analysis and stated, quote, based on the analysis, an eastbound left turn lane is shown to be warranted under the PM peak condition of year 2035. It is not warranted under the 2025 demand levels. A westbound right turn lane was not shown to be warranted for either AM or PM peak. Output from the warrant analysis is provided in Appendix F. Based on the speed limit of 45 miles per hour, turn lanes are recommended to be 225 feet long, including the 100-foot, is that right? Bay taper. Okay. And the plan meets all other zoning regulations. So here is a picture of the zoning sign, just to show that it was posted on the property according to KRS. This is looking into the property. You'll see here's a survey stake. So you're looking into the property. If you look at your little area map here, this is where I'm standing right across from the Oldham County Health Department. This is a west view. So standing inside the property a little bit, looking west towards Buckner. This is another west view. This is along Commerce Parkway. This is the south view. So this is across the street. So this is Oldham County Health Department. This is the east view. So this again is standing right in this area looking east. So you can see this is the the tree line here. This is the east view along Commerce Parkway. This is the west adjoining property owner on Allen Lane. This is Miss Allen's property here, her home. This is the school board property again on Allen Lane. And then again, this is the northwestern property. So this is the home that is located back behind these trees. So going down Commerce, or at the corner of Commerce and Allen Lane, this is the commercially zoned property. And then traveling further down Commerce, these are the southeastern adjoining properties. Proposed binding elements, there shall be no changes to the plan without the review by the Oldham County Planning Commission and Engineers Office. Applicant is required to submit a landscape plan and lighting plan for full review and approval by staff. And the preliminary plan must comply with all established federal, state, and county ordinances and requirements at the time of construction plan approval. That is all that I have.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, with that, Mr. Sullivan, would you come forward, and then I'll get Mr. Williams, county engineer.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Jim Silliman, Oldham County Engineer, 100 West Jefferson Street. Similar to the comments you usually hear me say, that these comments are going to be reflected in, they were reflected in the TRC technical review committee. They've addressed many of the notes from that, but still some do remain between now and the construction plan phase. Some of those are: the applicant shall be required to obtain the appropriate permits. Those are not limited to the Oldham County Stormwater Management and Erosion Control Permit, the Division of Water KYR 10, and the Army Corps Division 401 and Division of Water 401 and 404 permits. And that's because there are jurisdictional blue line streams located within the development area. Stormwater design and construction plans will be in accordance with the Oldham County post-construction runoff and construction site runoff ordinances. If you see on the plans, the applicant has noted that in their notes that it'll be in accordance with those, which is great. They also acknowledge the detention basin drainage easement, which is going to be a requirement that they have that easement or a basin encompassed by an easement for future maintenance requirements. That's also noted on the plans. I would like the applicant to confirm when they have their presentation that the roads would be private and not city maintained. Of course, they won't be county maintained either way because this is in the incorporated city. Lastly, Amy spoke to the traffic impact study and the turn lane, the left turn lane that it shows is warranted in 2035. Based on discussions with the applicant, I think you're going to be presented a proposed binding element later in the hearing to reflect that. Lastly, just one note for the applicant also. There's a 6-inch water main and a 12-foot water easement that are shown terminating on the property. They do indicate it says that extends to a location unknown. I think we just need to be sure that that won't complicate any modifications to the basin in that area.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Williams, Oldham County School Board.
So the serving schools at this point with the 216 units, the 180 2-bedroom and 36 3-bedroom, based on our calculation, would be 36 students. Again, apartments are not in my calculation of how many units per year at this point. So the serving schools are Centerfield, Oldham Middle, and Oldham High. The nice thing about this for the district is there's also a partnership agreement here where the developer will stub into the sewers onto our property so that when we develop that property, we will be able to connect to the sewers. So.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, commissioners, we're down to any questions for staff at this point. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll now move into presentation by the applicant or representative and others in support of the application. Mr. Clubb, I assume that's you, and you have 50 minutes, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commission, staff, County Attorney. My name is Josh Clubb. I'm with Barry, Floyd, and Baxter, 17 West Main Street here in LaGrange, Kentucky. And it is my honor today to be before you again and present for your consideration a luxury apartment development that is going to be called Flats at 20 in honor of the new exit that hopefully we're not being presumptuous that it'll be exit 20, but that is our thoughts. So, Mr. Chairman, I have several people here with me today on behalf of the applicant. I don't know if you want to swear them on the front end, but they are Travis Brown with Mendel Scott Engineering. Adam Kirk is our traffic engineer. And I have three of the developers, principals in this company, Stephen Edwards, Dennis Pollard, and Patrick Pollard, all Oldham County residents. So if you want
Are we speaking?
they may, if you want to swear them all in, they may not, but.
Could you stand? Okay, Mr. McIntyre.
I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
And then we'll get their name and address when they come up to speak. Okay.
So as I mentioned, these are the developers. There's one other gentleman, Doug Hawk, is also involved in this project. I'll talk about Doug more in just a second. Again, my name is Josh Clubb, and I've introduced the engineers. Between Doug, Stephen, Dennis, and Patrick, there's over 100 years of combined construction experience. They started with single-family homes and have more recently moved into multifamily apartments, which this is an application. Stephen, Dennis, and Patrick, as mentioned, all are Oldham County residents and have been for quite some time. I think Stephen actually started out next door in Shelby County, but we claim him over here now. So Doug resides in Kenton County. This is actually their current endeavor. They have one other apartment complex in their portfolio that's actually under construction. I think most of you are familiar. I see a lot of faces I recognize, and if you drive up and down I-71, I'm sure you've seen it. And that's Crestwood Commons. There at exit 14, it's behind the storage units. It is an upscale, very similar project to what we're proposing here today. If you haven't pulled in there and checked it out, I would highly encourage you to do that. I think it's something for the community to be proud of. Certainly my clients are proud. I hope it's okay to give an invitation. So the Flats at 20, for those of you who remember the previous application, I'll talk about it. This is a high-end community. It will be owner-managed, 24-hour on-site management, 24-hour on-site maintenance, emergency maintenance. There will be a clubhouse with amenities, which we'll go into in more detail in a minute. As Ms. Albee already stated, there are park-like outdoor amenities, high-end exterior and interior amenities, quality landscaping, and they will all be 2- and 3-bedroom units with brick siding, and that is again what has already been built in Crestwood and what is being proposed here. The clubhouse in Crestwood, these are actually pictures, if you all have those on your screen, of the clubhouse that's already been constructed. That the clubhouse at this particular project will be the exact same design and layout. Is that correct? Layout will be the same, similar, but it has. There will be 3rd floor vaulted ceilings in the units, overhead lighting in bedrooms, living room, window blinds, washer and dryer connections in each unit. There will be some wooded views, obviously, with the topography around this development, and also we'll have high-speed internet, which I think we all need in today's economy. This is a representation of some of a staged bedroom and a bathroom in one of the units. I think it's important to note that all first floor units in all of these buildings, every building that Ms. Albee spoke about a moment ago, are going to be, with some modifications, they'll be handicap accessible. So anybody that applies to those, I believe there are regulations that require 2 or 3% of those units to be. We will exceed that requirement by far. Additionally, there are going to be 2 units that are going to be 1-story units. There are going to be 6 apartments each. Those are 2-bedroom, 2-bath units with attached garages, which we envision will be something that people who are aging among us may want to live in those. Their garage will be part of the unit, and they will be, again, 1-story units. Brick garages, I'm going to talk a little bit. I don't see a lot of people here. I want to tell you about the neighborhood meeting that took place a couple months ago. It was very well attended. We had it at the library. We did a lot of work on the front end. We had some neighbors in Anita Springs that actually backed up to the back of this, and we spent, my client spent a lot of time meeting with those neighbors to address their concerns regarding screening, heights of buildings, which I'll talk about in a minute. So long story short, as far as that meeting goes, it was probably one of the most pleasant and agreeable neighborhood meetings I've ever been to. Again, we worked very hard on the front end of this to make sure that the neighbors' concerns were taken care of. So we have brick garages with openers to dog parks, playground, basketball court, pickleball court. We've already EV charging stations, which is something that is becoming more and more useful. As we've also mentioned, my clients are proposing, and as part of the binding element with this plan would be agreeable. They plan to build an Uber or Lyft station with public restrooms along the walking trail there on Commerce Parkway. I know there's probably several miles there without any facilities short of a porta pot, and we think that would definitely be an improvement. That obviously would be built at their expense. That would be given to the city of LaGrange to do with this they please. But we think that's an asset not only for this development, but future developments in the area, as well as people who are using that walking trail currently. The clubhouse will have a swimming pool. The one at Crestwood Commons, I believe, is going to open today. We'll have a fitness center, lottery facility, community gathering room, internet cafe, tanning room, package service for our Amazon packages, as well as a business center. And those are, again, all amenities that will be here. I'd like to take just a minute, and some of you may wonder why we're asking for the three odd acres to be rezoned. We already have 12-ish acres on the front end that's zoned R4. Again, we could propose this project without a zone change. And this is a Class A property. And when I first heard that, when I started working with this developer, I didn't know what a Class A property was. It's an upscale apartment. The site, it has clubhouse amenities, all the things I told you about. And as much as they would like to provide that on any apartment complex that they were to build, the fact of the matter and the economics of it is you have to have a certain scale. There has to be a certain number of doors paying rent each month to dedicate land for the basketball court, the dog walking park, for the playground, for the clubhouse, for the swimming pool. And 216 units is the threshold that we deem necessary to make those things possible. Without those things on the smaller lot, then there could still be apartments built, but there's just not enough doors there to justify and make the cash flow work for those upscale amenities. Gross monthly income is at least 3 times the monthly apartment home rent. They have to have exemplary rental history, good credit, or no credit is not looked at, and they must have a good background history. So if you go to Crestwood Commons and look at that development, I think you'll find that it is, again, a Class A property. This is a outside elevation of a typical 2-bedroom building unit. It's a 3-bedroom unit. And then we also have a typical layout of a 2-bedroom unit. Again, all first floor units are handicap accessible, 2 full bathrooms, separate laundry room, 1,220 square feet on average is a living space, 2 walk-in closets, and a fully furnished kitchen. 3-bedroom typical layout. It's obviously bigger with 3 bedrooms, 1,470 square feet. I would still just have 2 full bathrooms, but again, 2 walk-in closets and 3 bedrooms. The two one-story buildings, one will be built kind of in the center of the property. The other, we actually moved to the back of the property, which is where the Anita Springs has some adjoining landowners. It's actually vacant land on 2 of the 3 sides back there, but there was some concern from the neighbors that a 3-story building would have view because of the topography into their backyards and their outdoor living areas, and we understood that. So we reconfigured the development to put a 1-story unit at the very back of that. Again, it'll be 2-bedroom, 2-bath units with attached garages. And as part of those discussions, it was decided that they didn't really want a fence there that could be, climbed or whatever by children or whoever wanted to go through. So we have agreed to build they're going to be brick face garages that will actually face there. The roof line will act as screening. So I think it's a win-win. We were going to build garages anyway. So that will actually act as screening in the back of the property in the project. If you looked at the pictures that Ms. Albee shared with you, there is a lot of, especially around the edges of the property, there's a lot of vegetation already there, trees. I don't believe there are no plans. I'll show you, there are no plans to remove any trees that aren't necessary for construction. I don't believe that a lot of trees will be required to be removed. On the areas of the property where there is that landscape buffer, we intend to use trees such as these shown as trees that my clients have used in previous projects. And we think that they will be a nice a nice addition to the property. So this is a survey. This is the meets and bounds, or the survey map of the entire property. Can I draw on this, Miss Albee? I can't draw on it anymore? Oh, that's a bummer.
You can use the mouse.
Well, the hatched area at the very rear of the property, which will be at the top of your screen, that is actually the only portion of this property that is not already zoned R4. It's zoned R2A. It does stretch back from the property, and again, that's where the one-story building and the garages are going to be built that adjoins the neighbors there to Anita Springs. It is worth noting that, again, the rest of the property is currently zoned appropriately for what we're asking to do. I've already talked about the need to be able to get 216 units to have the Class A amenities. I think it's also worth mentioning that it ties into the one of the reasons cited for approval of this project is that we have the odor development, obviously directly across the interstate. And the county and the city have spent a lot of money trying to lure commercial businesses. I think that is what the plan calls for. And what we often hear in this business is it takes rooftops, it takes front doors to get commercial business in there. And I believe that this property, especially with the new bridge across the interstate, as well as the proposed interstate ramps, plays directly into that. Obviously, we'll bring 216 doors in a relatively short amount of time to that area with direct access to that property, which we hope, and I think ODA would also hope would be a catalyst to begin that commercial development. I want to take just a minute, and obviously we have our engineer and traffic engineer here, but I'll take a minute to talk about the turn lane, about what the traffic study said, and what we are proposing. Ms. Albee correctly stated that the only turn lane that appears warranted is a left turn lane in the year 2035. So that's 13 years from now. It's not required or warranted at any time prior to that. That assumption, that takes a couple of assumptions into account, one of which is future development in this area, which obviously is not there. It's not under our control. I mean, we don't control what other development comes in, but it takes future development into account. It also takes into account the construction of new ramps there at the exit 20. I think that's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, I think that would change the assumptions that we say that a left-hand turn lane is warranted. Our proposal also takes into account the fact that I believe there have been long-going discussions in city and county government regarding the upgrade of Commerce Parkway. Obviously, it's grown even in the last 10 years. There's quite a few new businesses down there, a lot more traffic, and the anticipation and all of us as taxpayers hope that continues to happen. So given those discussions, I realize there's nothing firm in place, but it doesn't make sense to us for that to be done piecemeal in a manner that would have incompatible additions or modifications made to that roadway that may be torn out or need to be altered at a later time as future development comes in. That, coupled with the fact that the turn lane is not warranted until 2035. Obviously, there's a commercial outlot here on the front of this property that will be at the intersection of Allen Lane, Narney Harris Parkway, and Commerce Parkway. So how we propose to alleviate any potential traffic problems that may arise in the next 13 years. Mr. Chairman, if I may, I have typed up a proposed binding element, if I can.
Okay.
So there's a couple things, one of which is my client intends to build the Lyft and Uber ride station as well as the public restroom facilities. These are plumbed, hooked into the sewer restroom facilities, heated and air conditioned. They will be a very first-rate facility there. But we also would propose to place the sum of $75,000 into an escrow account at a place designated by the city of LaGrange to be used at a later date once there are plans for further improvements to Commerce Parkway, to actually make those improvements, the money to be spent to make those improvements between Allen Lane and Parker Drive. So obviously it's in the area that we're proposing this development. And then if they're not used by the end of 2035, that they would be returned to the applicant. But we have no doubt that sometime between now and then that some improvements would be made. So that would be our proposal as far as making our contribution to the improvement of Commerce Parkway, which I believe is going to be improved at some point in the future. And again, it's not warranted until 2035 to do. So again, that is our proposal to deal with Commerce Parkway. Miss Albie's slide probably covered it better than this slide. This is the total package as far as improvements. It's a little crowded. Parking spaces, we've met the minimum required. We're within the range. We're providing 424 parking spaces, which is well within the guidelines provided by the subdivision regulations. This is also important to note that we are seeking no variances and no waivers with this development. We're able to meet with the acreage we have, all the front, rear, and side yard setbacks. Maximum building height will actually come in a couple feet under what the maximum building height is allowed under the ordinance. Density is well within the requirements of the county's ordinance as well. So we have checked all of those boxes. Again, just to summarize, this is a 216 unit development. There will be 182 bedroom units, 36 3-bedroom units, 15.3 acres of total land. There will be common and open space required of 1.24 acres. We're actually a little over 2 times that at 2.98 acres. And we are also within the total lot coverage area. I have obviously the developers and the engineer and the traffic engineer here today to answer any questions. We are happy to answer any questions. This is development we're very proud of, and we appreciate your consideration. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, sir.
Anyone here that would like to speak in support of this application? Okay, seeing none, we will now move into testimony and questioning by those opposing the application. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition or have questions on this application? Okay, seeing none, we'll move in now to questioning of the applicant by the commission. Any questions for the applicant? Mr. Hampton.
This is maybe a little premature, but just help me understand what we're doing. What are the approximate, I got 2 questions. Number one, do the 3-story proposed buildings have elevators?
They do not.
What are the range in prices projected?
On the 2-bedroom, 2-bath units, we project the average rents will be somewhere in the $1,400 a month range. And on the 3-bedroom, 2-bath, they would be $1,700 per month. The garages are not provided as part of that. They are an additional monthly fee. So
On a round figure.
share it with you.
Oh, Mr. Chairman.
Any additional questions? Any additional questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't see your hand, Lord. Ms. Bonet, go ahead.
More curiosity than anything, but you all mentioned EV charging station. Is that going to be located? And I don't know a lot about them, but they are national companies that run those, or is that something that you all will do? And if so, can anybody come in and pay to use them, or?
A good question that I did not anticipate.
Edwards, we do need your name and address for the record, please.
Edwards, 4300 Brentwood Way, Crestway.
Okay.
Laura, could you repeat that question again?
Get closer to the microphone.
Laura, would you repeat that again, your question?
Where would the charging stations be located in the development?
Typically are near the clubhouse, and they are built and maintained by the utility company.
Do you know which utility company?
It would be KU, Louisville Gas and Electric, right?
So can any visitors utilize them? And if so, is there a payment method? Do they use a debit?
Yeah, so typically they're a credit card payment method, and visitors can use that, and they'll be posted on the mapping, EV mappings from Tesla and the other folks who make EV vehicles.
And I guess to follow up on that, how many units are proposed for this particular development?
EV units, Up to 2. It doesn't take a lot for the property. So.
All right. Any additional questions? Ms. Jones?
You said there will be the restrooms on Commerce Parkway and those will be gifted to the city? Is that what I heard?
Yes, that'd be in the right of way that be off our property that would be put into the care of the city of LaGrange.
City will be responsible for maintaining those and locking them and unlocking them and
I suppose so. I'm not sure about the locking and unlocking. As far as the 24/7 access, I would presume would be, I don't know if there'd be any locking on the bathrooms, but that's probably some things we need to talk to a little more detail on how that would actually, those details.
toilet paper, soap, all that, it will fall to the city. Replacing the toilet paper and the soap and all of that will fall to the city to maintain?
Be my understanding, we're talking with the city in that regard, yes.
Okay.
Anything else, Ms. Jones?
No, I just was making sure that somebody would be, keep those restrooms up.
I think if it's built in the city right away, it will have to be gifted to the city upon completion. But my clients are going to bear the 100% responsibility of that. And again, it will be a multi-use facility. Obviously, we anticipate that people living in these apartment units will probably use the Uber and Lyft drop off more than maybe the average public. But certainly the restrooms will be available for anybody that's using that trail. So it would be our expectation that the city, at the point that is completed, would take over its management. It'd be their decision as to whether they want it locked, unlocked. We will do whatever the city wants us to do in regard to the building of it, as well as, turn it over. So.
I just want to add to that, there will also be the school bus stop for any children at the property as well.
Can you speak up a little more?
Sorry, guys. So that will also be a school bus stop for the children at the facility as well.
Yeah, I mean, it would be very convenient to have the restrooms there as long as, they stay in good repair.
I agree.
Got a question here, I guess for you all, for the applicant. I know you'd mentioned about handicapped access or whatever, and but there's no elevator. So I assume that the units, the ground units, will be handicapped accessible where the other units will not be. Is that correct?
Correct. I think there's a 2 or 3%. 2% will be handicap accessible upon completion. The remaining first floor units will be convertible to handicap accessibility should the need arise. So if there would be an excess of 2% that was already ready, they will be convertible, and the applicant will make those changes for those residents should they be needed.
Okay. And I assume that some of the garages will also be handicapped accessible. So if somebody rents one of those lower units, they can park and be able to access the garage. And it's 2% when it's built. It will be handicapped accessible. But what would be the percentage or the number?
A third would be convertible actually more than a third, because 2 buildings are 1-story buildings to begin with. So actually a little bit in excess of a third of the total units will be at least convertible to handicap accessibility should the need arise.
All right. Any other questions? Any other questions from the commissioners? Okay.
Pretty good. I'm not too good at math, but I can.
Okay. All right. No problem. All right. I don't see any other questions from the commissioners. So with that, I guess, Mr. Clubb, we're down to your final statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Commission, for listening to our presentation. I think it says something when you propose a 216 unit apartment project and no one shows up to oppose it in this day and age. And I can tell you from my experience with this project that goes back to the early planning in this matter. Again, we sought buy-in, did not buy in, certainly. We sought common ground with the neighboring residents and went out of our way, I believe, to make them comfortable with this development. This is a 15.3 acre tract. About 11 acres of it here over that is already zoned R4. There could be apartment buildings of any size, any scale, any quality level built there without a rezoning application. But again, what we're proposing and asking for your approval on both the development plan as well as the recommendation on the zone changes for approval of, again, only a 3.8 acre section of this property to be rezoned for Class A luxury apartments. I believe they will be an asset to the community, an asset to the residents who live in them. We feel it's a really good project. I had submitted a justification statement with the application that I think you probably all received. I think that would be a basis for approval of the proposed project. I believe it is in agreement with the Oldham County, the most recent Oldham County adopted comprehensive plan. If you need help with the motion, I believe that there are plenty of ground stated in that. Additionally, we have proposed the binding element that has been passed out. We are, in addition to building the restroom and the ride share and bus stop facilities, that is going to be a gift to the community. We are also proposing to put the $75,000 in escrow account to be used to make road improvements once the city determines what those need to be. Obviously, I think a lot of development may happen in the next 13 years. It might actually change what even our own traffic study required. So we would ask for your approval of the development plan and ask for a favorable recommendation to the LaGrange City Council with the binding elements that have already been proposed. We are fine with those as well as the one I brought today. Again, thank you for your time.
With that, Mr. Clubb, I assume that completes your applications. Okay. All right. With that, as always, I'll call on Mr. Urban, Mr. Carter to outline here what's being requested, and we will consider the zoning map amendment request first.
Yep. So as usual in your staff report on page 3 is a sample motion for either approval or denial, and it's a recommendation to the City Council of LaGrange. You can rely on your own words in filling in the blanks in the proposed motions, or you can also consider the applicant's justification statement. And that's it. Okay. So the zoning map.
Right. And that's what we'll consider first. I'm sorry, the recommendation. Right. This is a recommendation to the LaGrange City Council on docket PZ 22018. So at this point, the chair would entertain a motion on the zoning map amendment request on 3.84 acres. Mr. King?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll move for recommendation of approval to City of LaGrange for the zoning map amendment as proposed. Based on testimony and evidence presented, find the plan to be consistent with the objectives, goals and objectives of comprehensive plan, subdivision regulations, and find that the changes in the general vicinity support that recommendation.
Mr. Carter, is that an adequate motion, sir? Okay. Yeah, we have a second. Okay. Mr. Hampton seconds. Okay, multiple seconds. All right. Any discussion on the docket PZ 22018, which is a zoning map amendment request to be sent to the City of LaGrange on 3.84 acres? And this would be a motion to approve. Right. I'm sorry. I recommend. You'd think I would have learned that by now. Recommended to the City of LaGrange. All right. I know.
So to include binding elements at this point?
That's on the development plan. So we're good. So the motion would be to approve the recommendation to the LaGrange City Council on 3.84 acres. Any questions? Any discussion? Okay. All right. With that, Mr. McIntyre, let's do the vote on this on docket PZ 22018. Recommendation to the LaGrange City Council for a zoning map amendment. Spencer? Mr. Hampton?
Mr. Clinefus? Ms. Bonet? Ms. Walzer?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Halfling?
Yes.
Finney?
Mr. King.
All right. The on docket PZ 22018, which is zoning map amendment request, will go to the City of LaGrange for their consideration, and is passed on a vote of 10-0. All right, and with that, I'll development plan request on.
So in the staff report, there's a motion for either approval or denial of the preliminary development plan. There are, if you're choosing to approve it, There are binding elements, and Mr. Club, there's 3 that are going to be added. I think you already agreed to these, but I want to make sure you hear them and agree. The first is that there shall be no changes to the plan without review by the Oldham County Planning Commission and the Engineer's Office. The second is that the applicant is required to submit a landscape plan and a lighting plan for full review and approval by staff. The third is the preliminary plan must comply with all established federal, state, and county ordinances and requirements at the time of construction plan approval. The fourth is one submitted by the applicant, which is that the applicant shall place the sum of $75,000 in an escrow account at a place designated by the city of LaGrange to be used at a later date for improvements to Commerce Parkway between Allen Lane and Parker Drive. Should the city not utilize said funds prior to December 31st, 2035, said sum shall be returned to the applicant. Number 5 is that all streets and parking areas shall remain private. And number 6 is that the applicant shall provide a sanitary sewer stub connection to the Oldham County Board of Education property. It shows it on the plan, but I think they want that as a binding element.
One of those.
Thank you. Okay. All right. You've heard Mr. Urban outline on the what's being requested on the development plan with the attached binding elements. At this point, the chair would open up the for a consideration or for a motion on docket PC 22019, which is the development plan. Ms. Bonet?
Move that we approve the preliminary development plan based on the testimony today. It does comply with multiple objectives of the comprehensive plan, zoning ordinance, and subdivision regulations. And I would like to include the 6 binding elements that were read by Mr. Urban.
Okay. Mr. Carter, is that adequate? Okay. We've got a motion on the floor on docket PZ 22019, which is development plan on 216 apartments on approximately 15.3 acres to be known as the flats at 20. Do we have a second? Mr. Finney seconds. All right. Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay. All right. Ready to vote? This is a motion to approve the development plan on docket PZ 22019. Mr. McIntyre.
Ms. Nazar? Mr. Hampton? Mr. Klingenfuss? Ms. Bonet? Ms. Walzer? Ms. Jones? Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Halfling? Yes. Mr. Finney? Mr. King?
Yes. All right, on docket PZ 22019, the development plan on 216 apartment units has been approved with the attached binding elements that were outlined by Mr. Urban have been approved on a vote of 10-0. Thank you all. And with that, Ms. Albee, you want to outline what we might be looking at next month?
Wednesday, tomorrow is filing deadline. We have not received any applications. We will keep everyone up to date if the first docket for Sanctuary Falls will move forward in June.
Because there's
I got a text on that, but I was just going to say that we don't anticipate it, but in case it does, we will keep everyone abreast of that. There is no SRC meeting on Thursday of this week. So once we have new topics, we'll probably go back to the road design standards in June, and we'll send all that information out for the SRC members and anybody else that would like to attend. But as of right now, we have no applications for June.
Okay. And just to bring everybody up to date, as I know everybody knows, Ms. Bonet is leaving us. Today is her last day, and we're certainly going to miss you and wish you well in your new endeavors and your new location and that kind of thing. So you've certainly been very helpful, and I think done a great job for the Planning Commission. So let's again give her another round of applause.
No tears, no tears.
Also, Tom McIntyre, which has been here for a while, is leaving us and going to, I guess, Cincinnati. So, certainly going to miss him and wish him well on his new endeavors also. So let's give him a round of applause. One other. Well,
not for 6 months.
two of us leaving here sometime before the end of the year. So So anyway, just another announcement. I think the fiscal court has approved our a replacement for Miss Bonet, Joe Ender from
Yes.
Westport. And I talked to him yesterday, and he's excited about coming on board. I think he works for Young Brands Corporation, so he's got to get trained, I guess, here in the next couple of weeks or whatever. And so he'll be joining us for our next meeting, whether it's June or July. And also, don't forget, we're getting our packet is probably getting a little tattered. We need to keep the packet for Sanctuary Falls.
So please keep Sanctuary Falls for that first agenda item. So please keep that. If for some reason you don't, I may have some extras because some people turned theirs in for recycle last time. But please keep those for next time.
Right. Is that all that we need? Anything else?
Good for the cause. I'm good.
We will stand adjourned. Thank you all for coming.